So welcome to this particular video where I'm going to show you how to create QR codes with inside FlutterFlow. At the time of recording, QR codes are not natively supported with inside FlutterFlow, so we need to pull them in from an external source. In this particular video, I'm going to talk to you about custom widgets and how you can use pub.dev to bring in a library into FlutterFlow which can produce you some lovely looking QR codes. If you are new to custom widgets, then this is the video for you, because I'm going to take it nice and slowly, nice and gentle through the process on getting custom widgets up and running with inside your FlutterFlow application. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So here we are then with inside the widget tree of FlutterFlow, and you can see here that I've created this really simple screen that looks a little bit more visually interesting because it kind of looks like a virtual ticket. And you can see here that we've got some various kind of text widgets and some sort of dividers and all that kind of stuff that just makes up the more sort of interesting parts of the UI. But we've got this white container in the middle that's just waiting for our QR code. That's where we're now going to need to focus our attention. So let's now start thinking about how do we get a QR code with inside FlutterFlow. So right, we're ready to now then start looking at how do we get a QR code with inside our application. Now, of course, we already know that FlutterFlow, at the time of recording here at the beginning of July in 23, there is no QR code widget available to us with inside the UI builder. So we need to go external. We need to go and find a widget that we can actually bring in to our application. So the way that we do that is we move over to a website called pub.dev, which kind of is like a package repository. Okay, it contains a whole host of packages that we can actually bring into our FlutterFlow application. Now, please do bear in mind that actually not all packages that you will find on here will work with inside FlutterFlow. So do bear that in mind. If you're struggling and you're trying to work something out and it's not working, then you may be struggling because the package does not work. But in our case, the particular package that we're looking for is a QR code. So I do already know that there is some QR code packages on here that will be of interest to us. So what I'll do is I'll go to this website and I'll type in QR barcode here, just do a search, and up pops a whole list of options available to us, of course. Now, that just a couple of sort of guiding principles really in terms of when you're actually looking at packages to pull into FlutterFlow. Some of the ones you need to look out for here is to make sure that certainly it contains the term Flutter, because not all do on here, but it's the Flutter, the one that you're looking for. And you also want to consider as well the platform of your application. For example, if you are just focusing on a web application, then you're not interested in an Android or an iOS deployment of your actual application, then you don't need to worry about where it says Android, iOS, and you may just be looking there for web. So just make sure the platform that you are targeting is supported. But of course, most packages do kind of work across Android and iOS. Web is kind of up and coming, but of course, what we're looking for in our application is one that will also work with web and will pretty well much work across the board. Now, the package that I've identified, the one that I'm interested in here, is this QR barcode. Okay, so I've just looked at this and I can see here just one of the other things that I need to look out for is whether it's Dart 3 compatible. Now, I highly recommend, at the time recording, FlutterFlow supporting Flutter 3. Okay, so you can see that by simply going back to the project. You can see up here we got Flutter 3 10.4. So you pretty well much know that Flutter 3 is currently being supported. And of course, here you can see this says Dart 3 compatible. Now, what will probably happen here is that when Flutter moves to 4, then there'll be Dart version 4. It's highly likely. It may not be the case, but it's highly likely that will be the case. So you want to just try to make sure that whichever version Flutter is running on, to make sure that actually it's compatible with that particular version. Okay, so just keep that as something to look out for. Okay, and you'll find that some of the older packages on here will not be compatible with Dart 3 because they're just old, right? They haven't actually been updated, or they've been neglected by the community that have actually built them. So pretty well much this is the one that we're looking for. Okay, is QR barcode. Just select that. And then you're into this particular screen that will give you some various details here about the package. Now, of course, if you're not a programmer, I'm going to try to help you as much as I can. And I try to do that as much as I can in all of my videos here to try to guide you through a little bit more slower instead of just jumping deep dive in. I'm trying to explain a little bit more about what's going on. Okay, so don't worry too much about this at the particular moment. I'll talk you through as we start developing the custom widget on how all of this stuff works. So pretty well much this is what we need, and we need to pull this now into our actual FlutterFlow project. So what we're going to do, let's hop back over to FlutterFlow now and let's start setting ourselves up for our custom widget. So here we are back in FlutterFlow. So let's now start creating this custom widget. So on the left hand side here, choose the custom code option, and we've pretty much got no custom code. So this should be, if you're creating a brand new project, this is what it's going to look like. Down here you can see we've got custom widgets. So we're going to now need to load up this particular custom widget with our QR code custom widgets. We can hit the little add button up here. We're going to go to widget. Okay, and we're going to give our kind of our widget a name. Okay, so I'm going to call this generate QR code. Okay, so it's called generate QR code, and then on the right hand side here, this is where we now need to start adding some parameters in. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the add parameters option. So one thing about a QR code, of course, is once it actually gets scanned, it's going to need to do something. Okay, so say for example you are creating an application that gets scanned by like a ticket machine or something like that. The user will put their kind of their mobile phone on the actual scanner. The QR code is going to get scanned. Now, of course, behind the scenes, the system that's actually scanning the QR code is going to make a call out to something. Okay, it's going to take the data within inside that QR code, and something is going to happen with it. Okay, so within inside our example here, it's just going to be a website address. Okay, but that could be anything depending on your use case. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to call this data. Okay, so I'm just going to pass the website address, as I said, to that. We need to take nullable off because we know that this is going to be a parameter that will always going to be required from within inside FlutterFlow. So when we actually drag this custom widget into our UI, we're always going to set the data parameter. Okay, so just take nullable off, and it's going to be a string, of course, and that's all that we need to do. Now the next bit we need to set up is this dependency. Now, okay, we need to tell this generate QR code to actually bring in the package that we looked at with inside the actual pub.dev website. So we now need to go and do that. So let's move over to the QR barcode sort of page that you saw earlier on here, and we just want to go up to this little copy option up here. So just choose that, and it's going to move to our clipboard the dependency information that we now need to bring into FlutterFlow. So move back over to FlutterFlow. Where it says add dependency, just hit add dependency, and then all you simply need to do is just paste whatever you copied to the clipboard into the dependency section. Now that's pretty well much set up for everything we need to do. We now want to generate the code with inside the middle here. That's going to kind of be the kind of like the boilerplate, the kind of the structure of the widget that we now need to get ready to then start bringing more information in order to set that widget up. So hit the little option up here. There's a little option called View Boilerplate Code. Just choose that, and you'll see the code that gets generated here is kind of like the boilerplate of everything we need to start using with inside our applications. Just hit the copy to editor, and you'll see here that the actual editor in the middle gets populated with our generated boilerplate code. So this is now ready for us now to start extending to be more specific about the use of the package that we've pulled in. Okay, so we've told Flutter here that we're actually using this QR barcode. So behind the scenes, we know we're ready for it. We now need to start padding this out with the code. It's actually going to make the QR code actually get displayed with inside our application. So let's move back over to pub.dev and let's start bringing that in now. So then back within pub.dev now, you can see here we're back on the QR barcode page here, and you can see we've got some various details that talk a little bit about examples, how to use it. And of course, if you're a developer, you're going to be very, very familiar with this kind of stuff. But if you're not, let's have a look at the example. Let's see what we can pull from that will be more obvious to us. So go to example, and you can see here that actually, if you look carefully between this and what we've actually got with inside FlutterFlow, there'll be some similarities. Okay, now what we need to look at is we need to say, okay, well, what do we need to pull from this that will actually make this actual widget work? Now in this particular example, pretty well much none of this we're kind of actually interested in, because this is just very specific to the example that's being displayed here. But you can see here that we've actually got some code here that drops down to column. Now we should all be familiar with inside FlutterFlow what a column is by now if you've been using FlutterFlow for a little bit. So this is really, you're just looking kind of more programmatically at what actual FlutterFlow is actually generating you from behind the scenes. So what you've got to remember is that FlutterFlow is actually generating all of this code behind the scenes. You just don't see it because you're working in a no-code way. Okay. But behind the scenes, you should be able to draw some similarities with some of these names here, like padding and column and all this kind of stuff. So column, we know that is actually a vertically stacked, almost like a container widget within inside FlutterFlow. We know that everything we put inside a column is going to be vertically stacked. But what it's actually stacking within inside this column and within inside the children itself is these two sections here. Now, these two sections here are the specific packages, the widgets that are part of this package that we want to use ourselves within inside FlutterFlow. So what we need to do is we need to take these out, okay, and we need to bring these actually into our application. Okay, and the way that we do that is we just simply, what I'm going to do actually here is I'm going to take the actual column itself. So what you need to look at, you need to be a little bit sort of cautious of where the kind of the starting sort of like the sort of opening closing brackets are. We know that the square bracket we got there and the square bracket we got there is everything in between. So we know we're going to want to take this. So we want to take the column. We know we've got a single opening sort of bracket there. So we want to take this down to this particular bracket just here. Okay, so we're literally just going to copy that now to the actual clipboard. So let's just do an Apple C, Control V if you're on Windows, and let's move over to our actual code here, and we're going to want to actually put that just here. So at the moment we're just returning back a container. So in programming world with inside Flutter, this is just really going to be something very similar to what you would use with inside FlutterFlow itself, and it is just our container. Okay, it doesn't contain any styling or anything like that. We're going to want to replace this. Okay, so just take all of that and then just do an Apple V or Control V just to paste that in. Now, don't worry too much here about some of the errors or the red or anything like that's being displayed. And the reason why it's coming up at the moment, because it doesn't know nothing about this QR code. It's not standard, okay? It doesn't know anything about it yet because we haven't told this widget to actually use these particular packages. Now, if you go back to PubDev and go to the top here, you can see here that we've got these kind of imports, okay, which is part of the actual package. So what we need to do is whenever you're using any particular packages with inside pub.dev and you're trying to copy, make sure you look for any packages that are referenced here that are related to the actual name that you've got here. Okay, so just make sure you take these. So we just want to copy this now because we know that's QR barcode. Let's just copy those, move back over to FlutterFlow, and then what we want to do is we don't want to put them up here. Okay, so it says here, do not remove or modify the code above. This is automatically generated. Okay, where we want to put them is just here. So it still means the same because these are just comments, all right? But we just want to put them just there. Okay, so let's bring them in. So that's pretty well much brought those packages in for us. Now, what I want to do at this particular point is I just want to save the actual widget itself. So just hit the save widget like that. Just hit yes. So if I hit the little, we've still got a few sort of errors here. So you can see here that we've kind of got some project issues here. Various bits cannot be passed. The first thing we want to do is just try compiling the code. So let's just compile the code. That's going to take just a few moments there to compile, and then everything should be good for me. We likely might just need to put a semicolon here actually. So in fact, I think I'm just going to need to do that. Put a little semicolon there. Let's get rid of that particular error because I forgot to copy that across. So just hit the save again. Actually, just one other thing that we need to do actually is just hit the little refresh option here because we pasted this in here. We haven't actually hit the little refresh option. So let's just do that. Let's move back up to compile code and everything should be good for us on the compilation. So please be patient with the compiling. It can take quite a while for it to actually do its thing. So just bear with it a little bit. Excellent, so things are looking good. Okay, so up the top right here, you can see it says no errors. That's a really, really good start. Now, don't worry too much about why we've got some squiggly underlines that look a little bit more disastrous, but that's just FlutterFlow here, just getting a little bit confused with the status of everything. So pretty well much, if we were to now drag and drop this particular widget with inside our UI, the actual UI would actually work, okay? But let me talk to you about a few additional changes that we need to make. So with inside this particular application and the packages that we've actually used, you can actually generate QR codes in a couple of different ways. Okay, you can see here that with inside these two widgets, you can see here we've got two widgets that we're bringing in. Okay, one called a QR code and one called a code. Now you can use these in a very, very simple way. You can either choose to use a QR code, okay, where we're just literally passing in a website address here and it's just going to generate a QR code, or we've got this one called code, which is going to pass some data in, but it's also going to pass in this actual code type. Okay, now inside our application, we're going to want to actually, in the future, we might want to extend it to actually include like a barcode, because this particular package can actually do barcodes and a whole host of different barcodes. But we know that that FlutterFlow also does provide barcodes. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can actually take this particular one out. So let's just take out the actual code one. So let's just delete this line out. We don't need this. Make sure you take the comma with it, and then we're left then with just a QR code. So really basic, and that's all we need to do. Now, of course, every time you make a change here, we're going to have to do a save, and then we're going to have to actually do a compile again. So off we go again. We'll just hit the little compile button and then leave that to do its magic. So there we go, it's got no errors, everything's compiled for us now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply get this actual widget running with inside the UI. So let's go and do that now. So here we are then back with inside the UI builder, and I'm going to move over to this particular option that's just up here called components. Just choose components, and then magically you can see that we've now got this custom code widget called generate QR code. Now I'm just going to grab hold of this and I'm going to drag this over to our QR code container. Let's just drop that in there. Now you can see here magically we've actually now got this QR code automatically generated. And this is the fantastic thing about FlutterFlow, because FlutterFlow itself is built with inside Flutter, we can actually see almost at runtime here, and we're in design mode actually, we're not even actually running our application. We can actually see the QR code get generated. Now if I was to come along now and I was to scan that code on a mobile phone, it will take me off to the website that was hard coded with inside the actual code itself. But you can see that we've got that actually in here, so I can actually go over here now. In fact, let's move over to the UI builder, so the widget tree, and you can see here we've got generate QR code. So I can just choose this particular generate here. Let's set some sizes on this. Okay, so let's go down to the custom widget. Let's just choose 220 by 220, because that is the size of the actual container. I think it's 230. So let's just change that to 230. Just to 230. So we've now got the actual QR code now generated. And of course we've got data dots, we've got the data string here. So if I was to just type in a website address here, okay, www.thedigitalpro.co.uk, which is just a shameless plug there for a redirect to my YouTube channel there, thedigitalpro.co.uk. Now that won't do anything at this particular time, but that's now all set up nicely in a moment when we're going to hook our custom widget up. But pretty well much now, if I was to run this in run mode, the QR code will be magically working, which is fantastic. Okay, so now what we need to do now is we now need to go back into our custom widget, and we need to now start enhancing it, not only with hooking the data up to the actual, so actually the QR code will actually go to the website, but we're also going to want to do some styling as well. And the fantastic thing about this particular package from pub.dev is it allows us to customize the look and feel of this particular QR code to just make it look a little bit more in keeping with our application. So let's head over to the custom code now, and let's start hooking some of these bits up. So I've got back into our custom code here, and I'm on the right hand side, back into the code that we put in earlier on. So what we need to do is we now need to get this particular value hooked up to the actual data that we've got coming in. So this is all just hard coded at the moment, and it's really straightforward to do. We need to get a reference down here to what's up here. Okay, so we know this is a parameter coming in and it's called data. Now how do we do that with inside a custom widget? Well, quite simply, this is just a string, right? So we can actually just delete this out because I'm not interested in that, and I'm going to type in widget.data. Simple as that. So widget is referencing what we have up here. Okay, so this just means that anything we put up here is then going to be referenced down here. Now this now means that we've passed in a value as a parameter into our custom widget, and we're passing it through actually into the actual QR code package itself, and it's going to be interpreted inside this particular data. So what we need to save it, of course, and we need then to compile it again. So hit the compile code. That's just going to do its thing, and then the widget then should be fully supporting the fact that we can pass in a website address into the QR code itself. So when I was having a little look closer at this particular QR code widget, I was thinking, okay, how can I actually style this? How can I make it look a little bit more interesting within inside my application? I don't just want to have like this big black QR code, all right? So what I did was I kind of hovered my mouse over with inside the actual FlutterFlow editor here, and it kind of gave me some interesting detail that I can actually look to utilize with inside the application. So I kind of had a look here and I thought, okay, well, look, we can see some colors here. We've got background color. So at the moment you can see here that it's transparent. Whenever it says equals, you can see here that actually the background color by default is transparent. Well, that's pretty useful. Of course, it means if you wrap a container around your particular QR code, whatever color you set the container, then you know that actually the QR code is going to be kind of transparent and show that color through. And I had a look through here and I thought, okay, well, what bits can I sort of look onto? Then I saw these ones here called QR style and QR data module style. Now the QR style, now if you look at a QR code, so let's actually have a look here, go back to the UI here, and once it pops up you can see here these are our eyes, right? So I'm thinking, well, okay, well, that looks like we can actually style these things up, but we can also style this section up as well, which is quite smart. We can actually apply some different colors to this. So how do we do that with inside our application? So let's move back over to the actual QR code here, and if we just come down here, we know that we got some parameters, some additional options, should I say, that is part of this QR code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually now code up this QRI style. Okay, I'm going to give it some color. So the way that you do that here with inside here, and this is where it all gets a little bit more interesting from a coding perspective, is you now need to start adding some code in here. Okay. So we know at the moment we've got data that is just down here. Okay, so you can see that we've got data. Whereabouts is data? There it is at the top here. We now need to do a comma, and then we can actually then set this I style. Okay, so here that's the kind of the type. This is the actual name that we now need to reference, I style. So if we now do type in comma I style, you can see here that we've got some sort of context sort of completion here, which is good. So I style, and if you remember, you need to type in QR I style, and then you've got this one here with the ... So this means that we can actually now pass some values or reference some values in here that will actually allow us to set up those particular parameters. So we just do this here. You can see here that as soon as I do an open bracket, we can set the color and we can set the eye shape. Now this is fantastic because the eye shape can either be circular or it can be actually square. If you remember back to the actual QR code, you've got the eyes in the corners that are currently square. We can actually make those circular as well, which is really, really smart. Let's focus our attention on color first. So let's just choose color, and now of course what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pass a color actually into our custom widgets. How do we do that? Well, we're going to have to extend our parameters up here in order to support that. So let's now make some adjustments to our custom widget to do that. So let's go over to the right hand side. Let's hit the add parameters option, and then we're going to add a new parameter in here. Okay, and we're going to call this one I style color, just like that. Okay, and we're going to set the type to be an actual type of color. So just choose a color there. We don't want to make it nullable. We're always going to pass a value in. Okay, so the parameter is now set up, but this is where we need to be a little bit careful now, because if we're not careful here, we can actually wipe out all of the code that we've actually entered into this middle section. So I'm going to show you a little technique that I use just to replace the parameters when we make these type of changes. Okay, so I'm going to hit the little option up here to view the boilerplate code. And if you remember, what this is now doing, this is now generating that code for us. And what I always do is I just scroll down here and I just literally select this down to the actual parameter here. So we've kind of got the setup here of the parameters, and then we've actually got the parameters themselves. I'm just going to right click and I'm just going to say copy that. Okay, I'm going to close this down, I'm going to cancel this. If I say copy to editor, then I'm going to wipe out all of the code that I've got inside my editor with this boilerplate. So just cancel this. I'm just going to go up here. I'm just going to select all of this, and I'm just going to right click, and I'm just going to paste over the top of it like that. So that's good. So we've now got our I style color. Now what we need to do is we now need to pass in the I style color down to the actual QRI style here where we selected color. Now if you remember, we did with the widget.data, we just need to do exactly the same now. So we type in widget dot, and then we're going to say I style color. Excellent. That is as simple as it comes, right? We can actually now set our color of our eye style outside of the inside the actual UI builder itself, which is fantastic. So if I now save this now. What's nice when you actually save it, actually what's really quite nice is that that FlutterFlow actually sort of organizes our code. It kind of like makes it a little bit more pretty for us. We can actually see it a little bit more structured now. Okay, now I've just hit on the compile. Of course, we now need to compile. We need to do all that kind of stuff. Now, while this is compiling, I could now carry on and make some additional change. So as we can see, we've got the eye style set. But what actually about the actual data itself, the other part of the QR code, we're going to want to style that up. Now, if I move back over to a QR code, then we know that we've got one here called QR data module style, which is this one here, data module style. So I just need to go after this comma here and type in data module style. You can see the autocomplete is bringing that, the IntelliSense is bringing that up for us. Now we just need to type here QR data module style. So just choose this one here. We then can open this up with our brackets, and we can say color. So now we can do exactly the same thing again. We can actually now add a brand new parameter in, and we're going to call this one up here. We're going to call this one data. We're just going to call this data module style color, like that. It's not going to be nullable. We're going to change the type from a string to the color itself. So it's now set for us. We need to go back up here, of course. We now need to just take this little bit here, just copy this down from this bit here down to here, just do an Apple C or Control C, depending if you're on Windows, just hit cancel, and then we're going to come back up here and then paste this in like so. So we've now got our data module style color. So we can now take this, just copy that again, come down to the color here, type in widget dot, and then just select data module style color. So that's all in there for us. We're just passing that in. Really, really simple stuff. And that should be all that we need to do. So if I just hit the save here, and then let's hit the compile again, and we should be good to go. So we'll fire this up now. Once that's actually compiled, let's quickly fire this up into test mode. In fact, before we do that, we'll set the properties actually within inside the UI builder, just to make sure that we've got some colors set for us, so we can see that appear within inside our test application. So now back with inside the widget tree, let's choose our generate QR code. You can see that we haven't actually got a QR code generated here. It's probably because the actual widget has now got a problem because we're not passing any colors in. We now need to do that here. So let's set the eye style color. So just choose that, and I'm going to set this to be my primary color. And then I'm going to come down here to this particular data module style color, and I'm going to set this to be my informational one here. There we go. So as you can see there, we've got this lovely little QR code which has got nicely rounded kind of sort of sections here, which looks pretty awesome. So of course we're going to customize our QR code very shortly with some enhancements just to kind of make that square or circular, and then of course you can have those choices with inside your application. Let's quickly just fire this up because this is obviously running with inside the design view. Let's quickly just run this in test mode just to make sure that everything is working for us. So there we go, test mode is looking just like we see in the design view, which is fantastic. So let's now make the enhancements to our application now to handle the option to choose whether we want a square representation or we want a circular representation of our QR code. Let's do that now. Okay, let's now work on the square or circular representation. So let's move over to our custom code option on the left here, and then now we're going to want to now add a brand new parameter in. Okay, we're going to call this one is square. Okay, so if it's set as true, then we know that actually all of our QR code elements are going to be then square. So let's go to add parameters here on the right hand side. Let's type in is square like that, and of course this type is going to be a boolean, true or false. If it's true, it's going to be square. Let's just take the nullable off because we're not interested in that. Let's move over to the boilerplate option up here, and let's just be careful just to copy this particular section. Just do an Apple C, Control C, and let's cancel that, and let's just paste this just over the top of these here so we get our parameter now in motion. So here it is now. We're ready to now use that now. Now with inside our QR code option, in fact within our QRI style section and our QR module style section, you can see here, if I just hover over this here, you can see that I'm just at the top here. We've got this option for QRI shape. And we've got similar something down here. If I just hover over that, you can see QR data, just move over here, QR data module shape. Now we're going to set the whether it's circular or square within inside each of these. So let's focus on the QRI style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a comma, and I'm going to say I shape like that, and then you can see that's just come up there, so we know that we are valid. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make a decision at this point. I'm going to say, am I square or am I circular? Okay, so the way that we do that is very simply, we just say widget. Okay, so we're referencing the parameter that's just up the top there. We're going to say is square. Okay, and we're going to do a space, and we're going to say, we're going to just do a little question mark here. So we're going to say at this point, if it's set as true, which is what this is doing, then we're going to want to do this. Otherwise, we're going to want to do this. So the way that we do that is we just say QR, and then we say I style. Okay, which is just that one here. We're going to say this one is going to be square. So we're just going to choose that one. So we're going to say if it's set as true, then set the QRI shape as square. Now, if I do a colon here, okay, not a semicolon, but just a colon, I can say otherwise, this is what this basically means, is we're going to say QRI shape, okay, is going to be circle. So we've made a decision here. Just to recap, then we're going to say if this is true, then we're going to want to set it as square. This little indicator is saying otherwise, we are going to set it as a circle. So that's as complex as it gets. Okay, we're going to need to do the same thing down here. So just to make this really, really straightforward is if I just copy this here like that, let's just paste that in here like that. It's going to come up with an error. So let's just change this now. We're going to say this is going to be the data module style shape. We're going to still say is it square, because if we said it once, we're going to want it to apply to both. And then we're just going to change these then to say and QR data module shape is going to be square. Of course, just delete that off here, or just going off the screen a little bit. And we're just going to want to copy this here. And we're going to want to just paste that there. So there we go. We've just done the representation, which is equivalent to this up here. So is the square, and then we're going to say the module shape is square or is circular. That's all that we actually need to do. So let's now save this, and let's compile once more. So that leave that to compile, and then we should be then good to then update our parameters and just set the is a square to be either square or true or false if we want to remain it circular. So you go, that's all compiled. Let's move over to the widget tree here. You can see that the barcode has gone grey, so it's clearly a problem. So let's set some values up here. We just want to say down here that this is going to be is a square. So you can see here, if I take that off, you can see that it's circular. So that's really, really quite straightforward there with inside our application. So I don't even need to even run this up, because you can see here that actually what it's doing, which is absolutely fantastic. So of course that is pretty well much it. That's pretty well much how to get a QR code actually added to your application. I know I've taken this pretty step by step, but hopefully it's gave you a little bit of insight in how you can configure up a custom widget. So there you go, that's how to create QR codes with inside FlutterFlow. Please do check the link in the description, because I've got the starter project there if you want to follow along, and of course I've got the final completed project there as well if you want to compare the output. Please do like the video, and if you love the no code space, please do subscribe to the channel as well. I've got so much content on my channel, I'm sure there's something there for you, and then of course some full series as well if you want to follow along piecemeal on how to build FlutterFlow applications. So until the next video, I'll see you soon.